Teresa Phelps Martin, bringing you the energetic signature for Libra season. And I'm recording this after Libra season has already begun, because my Libra season has begun with a lot of energy and a lot of change and a lot of shift, which is so much so the signature for Libra season. So just to clarify, I am officially now a licensed professional counselor. I am not showing up here as a licensed professional. This is entertainment, this is enjoyment, this is just kind of a chance for you to be entertained in how you want to navigate your life. Obviously, you have freedom of choice and you have this ability to have agency in your life. And that is so important. So if you do if in listening to this, it invokes something at a soul level that you need more guidance, you need some more support, please speak your needs and reach out. But otherwise, know that I am showing up here as a coach and a cosmic consultant to help you live more soulfully, to be more of who you are. So that designation of being who you are, all of us have an inner world, and then we bring that inner world into the outer world. And this is so much of the signature of Libra season. And part of what we're really being asked to do is trust in the bigger picture, trust in the cosmic support, trust in our souls, trust in the unfolding, and trust that our outer world, I think Wayne Dyer says it, right? Our outer world is a reflection of our inner world. So if we change our thoughts, we change our lives. And there's truth to this. There's a lot of truth to this. However, we have to show up for ourselves. We have to be willing to look inward and not just stay in the cycle of moving forward. So we want to reflect. We want to turn inward. We want to feel at Libra, some key signatures of Libra energy is peace, justice, balance, equanimity, harmony, beauty. Libra is ruled by Venus. She's still in Leo right now, but the energy of Venus is to receive, to slow down, to organize, to relate, to connect, to really recognize value. So the value isn't recognized unless we take it inward. Now, yes, I've been in a profession of over 20 years asking people to contemplate and have that introspection. Our Western culture doesn't really encourage that. I mean, it's starting to be more encouraged now that there's so much research on mindfulness. The lingo is to slow down, right? And the idea of slowing down is so you can refine. And that is all Venus energy, refinement. And this energetic signature holds not so much a heaviness, but it's not just like the fun, happy, shiny layer to this season. It's not bad. This is one of the things we have to really reconcile, is that letting go, when we lose things, this is the cycle of our life, right? I'm delayed in putting this forward according to my own personal timeline and the timeline of the cosmos, is because I was not going to miss being a mom this weekend. No way, not for anything, because I knew I wouldn't get that back, right? For me, am very committed to my role as a mom and being present, because that's who I am. And so I lost out in being on time with this offering, whatever that means. And so it was easier to let that go and allow the space to show up as a mom, for a wonderful weekend of watching my son develop and grow and become the person he is. And so loss, we sometimes forget what loss is. It's not just the doom and gloom of losing a life, which it is 100% hard and challenging, because with loss comes grief. Grief is very misunderstood, and our culture doesn't really allow for that space to process that. So this energetic season is really about how do we take action to create change. Well, to create change, we have to let go. We have to let go of our need to be really in control, which that will be the full moon that happens on September 29th, when the moon is opposite Libra, and the opposite energy of Libra is Aries. So we have the signature of Aries, which is the individual, the enthusiasm, the drive, the determination, ruled by Mars. And then we have Libra, the relationship, the connection, the justice, right? We have the scales in Libra, right? But it's really, I thought this was interesting. Rick Levine pointed this out. It's really about the point in which the scales balance, right? That's that Libra energy. It's that tipping point. And so how do you work with, or that fulcrum, how do you work with that energy? How do you center yourself to be in that harmonious place? Well, harmony doesn't come from pleasing everybody. Being a reformed perfectionist and pleaser, I undermined my own personal needs immensely to keep the peace in my outer world. So, right, if I'm going to circle back to this, Libra is about really connecting to this inner world and this outer world. It's not just changing our insides. We also have to be willing to change how we're engaging in the world. And that means we have to speak our needs. So we want to cultivate that peace in our lives and close our eyes, look inward, and there's going to be commotion. Oh, excuse me, I looked inward and it's telling me that I'm tired after a very full weekend of respecting that and being able to let go of certain things that maybe didn't go the way we wanted, right? Maybe, I was actually going to be doing something else this morning, but when I slowed down long enough to look at the details, I would have driven all this way, gotten there and said, my forms are expired, I can't move forward. So I let it go and I communicated it, and that brought peace, and here I am doing this. So there's always these multiple layers. So if we're not connecting to ourselves, somebody yada again, if we're not connecting to ourselves and connecting to that beauty within our own sense of self, we're not going to connect to it out in the world. We're not going to see the beauty. It is everywhere, but we have to recognize the beauty inside of ourselves. And that comes to making peace with layers of life, which the bottom line of that is acceptance. I'm starting to wonder that forgiveness might be easier than acceptance, because you can finally move into the place of forgiveness, which is a strong signature of Scorpio season, which follows Libra. Once you create acceptance. Acceptance, in my own personal experience, perhaps you have a different one, might be the hardest thing ever. Maybe we toughen up and we stay strong. We accept it and move forward. That's not really acceptance, right? We have to really give ourselves the space and time to honor what is necessary. Okay, so loss and letting go is a big signature for this Libra season. And in this Libra season, we will have the full moon in Aries, as I mentioned, at 6 degrees on September 29th. It perfects at 5:57 a.m. And then we have a solar eclipse on October 14th at 1:54 p.m. at 21 degrees. What makes an eclipse? The nodes. The south node, so this is an eclipse energy of letting go. The south node. What needs to fall away in order for more growth, more light, more opportunity to come in. And the theme of that new moon for me is about opportunity. So you have to be a team player with this energy of ego and emotions, which is a big theme this month. And how are you able to release things? And when we let go of things, have you ever cleaned your house? Well, then you make space for more things to come in. Have you ever just consumed and consumed and consumed? Then you have too much stuff and it's chaotic and it's messy. And when your outer world is messy, you feel like a mess inside. And so sometimes we create order and clean up and sell things, remove things, give things away so that we just have space. We don't have to go fill it back up again, right? But think about it. If you're in that material world and you just buy clothes and buy clothes and buy clothes and buy clothes, do you ever get rid of the old? You know, I get it that sometimes we hold on with the idea that the old, that'll fit again, it'll come back in style again. I get that. But we also have to let go, right? Have you ever had gross leftovers in the refrigerator that you had every intention to eat again, but if it stayed there, it just molds and it ferments and it smells? The same thing happens inside of us, but we don't have that three-dimensional shape and form that we can understand, right? You go fill up your tank with gas and you burn through it all, and then that light comes on, you have to go refuel. So our emotional and energetic realm is not as clear. That's why I look to the cosmos, because it gives clarity to help us know how to navigate. So it's really important this month not to dread loss, but to approach it from the place that we're co-creating with the natural cycle of life, right? My tomato plants are all drying out and there's a lot of green tomatoes. There's not enough daylight any longer. There's not enough heat any longer for them to ripen. So maybe I'll pull some of those green tomatoes and save the seeds and try again. Or maybe I'll just wait and let somebody else save the seeds, because we can co-work together. And that's a big thing about Libra season, is that there are a lot of us. There are a lot of us involved. There's a lot of us that are working together. And how do we work together? How do we understand that we all have different strengths? Look, I show up here just out of a generosity of my heart with the hope that this reaches you, because I know not everybody can work with me and afford the investment as a coach, right? Now, the good thing about me being a therapist is if you live in the state of Kentucky, right, I shelf astrology, right? I shelf it. I don't talk about it. It's not a tool I lean into, because while there's a lot of evidence for astrology, it's not a peer-reviewed evidence, right? There's no theoretical stance. So there's a real clear boundary there. I let it go so that we can really deal with the clinical needs that you hold. And so that's what therapy is. And if you're in a therapeutic relationship with me and we realize that that clinical energy has been resolved, the clinical need, then I will encourage you to move on with me as a coach, right? And so those lines can get really blurry, but just realize I won't show up as a therapist. But if you have a lot of emotional strife, which we call our mental health, because our mind takes the emotions and then they determine our behaviors. It's really not simple, but our emotional inner state will inform our mental health, which informs the choices we make. And that's a very simplified statement. Okay, so I am showing up right now more as an astrological consultant and that cosmic guide known as a soul coach and a transformational coach. So in that understanding, this is a season to take action to create change. Taking action sometimes means you have to let go of being lazy. Do you see what I'm saying? I'm trying to simplify this. Maybe you have this attachment to anxiety. We finally have the sun in an air sign and Mars is an air sign. We finally have more of this air energy, which opens up our mind, which maybe gives us the room to breathe. I'm recording in this on the day that the moon is in Aquarius. Great time to network, to get to the big picture. So there is some intentionality in the delay, but honestly, in total truth, I was committed to my family, and committed to myself as a mom. But we have to consciously choose to relate to life with enjoyment. This means if we're consciously choosing to relate with life with more enjoyment, we have to consciously choose to, like, let's say you do have a lot of anxiety and you get work. So we have to co-create with that. We have to understand that actually the neurological response in the mind is very similar with excitement and anxiety and worry. So we have to understand those, and understanding when our stomach hurts and we feel like we're going to barf, sometimes because we're super excited and we don't have the control over the outcome, right? We don't have the control over the outcome. So we co-create with that. And so we trust in the unfolding. That is the work. That is what's hard, is letting go of the fact that I have a say-so over everything. I have a say-so over myself and how I show up. And then we show up with the energy. How is my inner self, my whole being? Am I taking the time to get centered? Am I understanding? Am I over giving? Am I under resting? It doesn't work. So we just pull back, and then we decide to show up and we co-create. And that co-creation is understanding the two sides, the give, the receive. Okay? The assert, the reflect. These are important things. We are given the start of the signature that we get to rise up with a big heart. We are allowed to shine. We are allowed to be seen. We are allowed to be visible. We are allowed to radiate our true selves. And there's just going to be this really annoying, subtle energy of we have to be okay and create the acceptance to release, right? Because who doesn't want to cultivate a sense of peace in their life? Who doesn't want to have more peace? Right? When that peace gets really out of alignment, right? Where it gets confused and layered with life, it can show up as depression and sadness and lack of motivation, right? So then we learn how to stop just spending hours upon hours upon hours avoiding or undermining our capacity and our ability. And we take the tiniest little step, compassionate step towards peace, towards like a full exhale. So I've said this again, I'm going to repeat it again. This energetic signature is really, how do we find the ways to create the harmony between our inner world and our outer world? Can our inner self trust what we do out in our life? And can our outer world, the people we relate to and that care for us, can they trust that we're actually taking care of ourselves internally? And can we build a relationship with other people who are doing the same thing? Right? Because then when somebody says, hey, this isn't going to work out, we can trust that they're trusting themselves and it has nothing to do with us. That one's a hard one, I know, but we have to let go of the attachment that we're responsible for it and rather recognize we are responsible for ourselves. At the end of the day, when life is all said and done, you will be alone. You will be with yourself. Your energy, your soul, your spirit, your sense of self, your reality with this world, however you want to define it, it's just you. And whatever your belief system is, right? So for me, I know, this might be too much, but for me, I know when I transition to the other side, when I have exhaled my last breath, I know I'm surrounded by an amazing force field of energy. So on some level, I'm not alone, but I'm alone in this reality that I've known. You know, I'm not going to die with somebody else dying at the exact same minute as I am. When I go to bed at night, I tuck everybody in. You know, I fall asleep putting my kids to bed, but I'm still falling asleep with myself. I have company in the physical realm, but the inner realm, it's with me. Okay? So it's really important to have this connection to our inner selves, not from an arrogance place. This is the full moon, not from an arrogance place. Can we really be in this place of we need our ego to get us out there and going, take action, committed action, value-centered action, the recognition, can we value ourselves, right? And then give other people the space to value themselves as well. Okay, so in this letting go, okay, I'm going to start to close this up. In this letting go, can we find ways to release with love, with kindness, with compassion? Because we can really trust that it's actually going to be renewed, right? And those opportunities become available to us once we've cleared the way, that we've opened up the path, right? The flowers that are in the pot right outside my window, they're these beautiful yellow begonias. I potted them in a pot that I didn't intend for, and they didn't work out in the other pot, so I moved them, and they're just beautiful, and they're right outside my window, and I get to look at them right now as I'm recording to this. But I had to find the pot, find the soil, and plant it, and then allow. This is the cycle we're co-creating with, getting back to just how we see nature unfolding, right? And getting out of technology is great. Thank you. Thank you for streamlining and making things more accessible. But we got to get back to the basics. And so can we get to it with kindness and love? Can we thank the earth for all that it's provided as we put the crops to rest, right? That's Scorpio season. So we have this acceptance of our life cycles and this privilege of being present to it. That presence is Libra season, being able to see the beauty rise up before you. You've done the work, you've done the effort. Now can you really have this rapport with your life? Can you show up for it? Can we have this connection to one another and see it in them? See what they're bringing forward. And so some of the technical things this month, we have a lot of that. We do have, let me circle back. We still have a lot of this feminine signature because we have earth and water. We have Venus moving into Virgo on October 8th. We have Mars moving into Scorpio on October 12th. Jupiter is still retrograde in Taurus. Saturn is still retrograde in Pisces. We have Uranus still retrograde in Uranus retrograde in Taurus. We still have Neptune retrograde in Pisces. And we have Pluto retrograde in Capricorn. So the outer planets are still in this feminine expression, the earth and water, muddy. It's not all pretty and shiny and clean and driven, okay? So it's still murky, but it's okay. I can still hear Judith Lester. I love studying with her. I'm so grateful I got to. She informs so much of how I show up. And she always would say, the lotus grows in muddy waters. I'm so grateful that I was able to be a yoga teacher for as long as I have. And that essence is still with me, but I'm not here showing up teaching you yoga. What I would recommend doing with this Libra season is making sure you're grounded. What are you grounding into? Get back to your values. Get back to your values. Get back to your heart. Get back to what Venus in retrograde taught us. Now, Mercury will go into Libra, okay, October 4th. Mars will be in Libra. So we have some air energy still with us, okay? But just realize that there's still this big call of let's create a new relationship with ourselves. Let's really reclaim and refine the way that for thousands of years we've been taught to be. And so can we just pause and really provide that love and kindness and compassion of like, oh my gosh, you know, we weren't taught to pull back and slow down. We were taught to be strong and persevere and push forward. But now we're realizing that the world's a little bit of a mess. There is a mental health crisis. And so we got to change it. And there's a strong aspect with this as we moved into Libra season, and there's a strong annoying aspect as we leave. Is like we really, really have to trust in this energetic current of dealing with what's been swept under the rug for so long. So if you're at a point of overwhelm, speak your needs. This is what the eclipse is gonna remind us. Speak your needs. Speak your needs. So we have an undercurrent of that energy of feminine and really being in that, like really stay in this land of changing the narrative with the feminine energy and becoming more steadfast in your connection to what your understanding of the feminine is. Not what you're being told, right? But what is it from your vantage point? And sometimes that is loss and letting go. What do we sometimes want? We want to be comforted when we're overwhelmed and when we're underwhelmed, right? So that full moon in Aries is going to remind us to trust in the bigger picture, to look ahead to where and how you want to be, and can you show up centered? So we do need to look ahead. There's no sort of short-term, spontaneous choices that are quick fixes. That's going to leave you frustrated, and that's a strong signature too. Respecting the inner battle. Respect what's going on within yourself. Give yourself room to listen inward. You're not going to always be clear because those emotions surface up, but we can really learn how to regulate those emotions and redirect them so we can stay on course. But we have to do the work. I mean, ultimately we have to. How are your actions in alignment with your own soul's journey? Right? What you're doing on the outside reflective of what you desire on the inside? And can you show up for your true self? And then that new moon, I'm going to save more of the new moon, the eclipse, for the lunar circle. I will put the link in. It is a limited number. It's happening on October 9th at 8 p.m. Eastern time. $25, I think is what it is. We will talk about the energies. You'll get a worksheet ahead of time for you to reflect back on too. We are in community and connection. I will lead you through meditation because anchoring yourself, grounding yourself, breathing is really important. So get out in nature. Notice the change of seasons. This is the beautiful part. Autumn has begun in the northern hemisphere. Be present to that. And I'm going to save more of that energy for that lunar circle. And then of course I'll come with the lunar insights as we come closer. But the lunar circle will hold where the juice and the soul and the Bhav all reside. So you can find that link in the comments. But I'm going to sign off just sharing again that I'm showing up not to replace the professional guidance of a licensed professional. I am not coming to you as a licensed professional, even though I hold that in my title. I also want you to know that you are a valuable person in this world. And the world needs you. You are here. You've been given this privilege to live. And so it can be a lot to try to figure out what direction to go. So you turn to your values, you turn to your heart, you turn to the breath. Libra, in my opinion, is so much like if you can come to that sama vritti, which sama is even, vritti is fluctuation. Another Judith Lessiter, she's clearly speaking to me today. She taught me a lot of how to utilize yoga for regulation. And sama vritti, when in doubt, even it out. And that is what Libra energy is. So you would have an even inhale, an even exhale. In the world of mental health, they now call it square breathing. Like, let's say you inhale for the count of 4, you pause. Well, they say hold. I don't use the word hold. We don't hold our breath. We do not hold our breath. We pause to feel how full we are at the top of the inhale for 4 counts. And then we release. We acknowledge the release at the bottom of the exhale for 4 counts. We're present to it. And then we inhale again for 4 counts. And then we're present to the fullness that we hold. And then we exhale for 4 counts. That is the co-creating with ourselves, with life. But we have to remember to do the work. So thank you for tuning in. If you need assistance, of course, you can sign up with me as a coach. If that seems like you don't feel like you're in that place of stability, of inner stability, of course, we unpack things, but like your natural tendency, we all can have overwhelm, we can all have excitement, we can all have anxiety, we can all have fears, we all have hate, we all have sadness and disdain. But if that is impairing your ability to function, that's when you want a mental health therapist, practitioner. But Libra season is when we can articulate that. And we speak our needs. We reach out for help in whatever form that is. And maybe it is just by liking, sharing, commenting this video because you appreciate it. And no matter what, however this finds you, I appreciate you. So be well, be true, be real, and be soulfully you. It's the gift of a lifetime.